Today we are having a fantastic and experienced panel of people here with a very diverse background and with an interesting topic, Noida growth opportunities and how the future lies in Noida real estate market. I hope since it's a smaller group, we'll try to make it interactive. So the way we'll flow this panel discussion is we'll ask questions, we'll talk it through. First, some macro aspects, then we'll dive into the market details, and then post that we'll take Q&A. Just to start with, we have Ashutosh, who is driving one of the most sought after project in Noida real estate market, Jewar Airport and the real estate division of that. I would say it is going to be the biggest catalyst in Noida real estate market. So I'm sure all of us would love to hear his thoughts on that. Shashank is here, star of RICS organization or RICS institution, and he has been taken to residential sales and all around real estate in most of the geographies. Will listen his views from residential point of view. Mr. Batra is here, who has been a veteran in resale market and all institutional and industrial and large scale IT plots transactions. And classically, Noida has been an MSME driven or industrial settlement city. So this kind of how the growth has been, prices have really peaked in this segment. So we'll also listen his views in this segment. Supriya Chatterjee is here, who has been, one thing I would like to add, Supriya and her team or her fraternity, I would say, Noida, when we met, I was just saying Noida needs her and her fraternity because today Noida needs to, every city has a cycle, once a cycle comes, land transaction happens, when a cycle comes, everybody needs funding. Noida is action happening today, land transactions and leasing. Every developer we meet, they want to have a big leasing team. So we'll definitely, going forward here, what are her views on Noida market ahead. So here we go about Noida growth story. Before we proceed ahead, I'll just throw some opening points about this city development. If we see in last 2-3 years, there has been phenomenal growth in Noida market. Many of you must have witnessed, be it price escalation, absorption, land prices, number of transactions, entry of national players, rental movement, resale values, new launches, kind of investment pouring in, kind of infra development announcements happening, and so on and so forth. So these kind of developments we have witnessed in such a hurry manner in last 2-3 years. Just to substantiate few points what I just said, if you see far-flung area which is not far-flung today, sector 150, prices are 8,500 to 9,000 rupees. New launches on Noida Expressway are happening at 12,000 to 18,000 rupees. People are not getting allotments, unheard in the market, right? Very recently, we saw oversubscription and footfall of Godrej 146 new launch. Okay. So those kind of things are happening. To my surprise, resale prices in Noida housing market, for example, sector 137, touching 10,000 rupees plus. I mean, astonishing. It happened in last 2 years, 3 years, right? Rental values, if you see in Max building, it can give competition to any metro city grade A building. Grade A commercial started happening now. Strata sale in good buildings on Noida Expressway are transacting 12,000, 13,000 rupees a foot, right? Units, as I said, in the segment of 8 to 9 crore are getting oversubscribed. So Noida has come that long way. We have seen, the interest shown in ADA plots. I mean, that X is countless now, 10x, 20x, 30x. I mean, that's like stock market oversubscription. So, these kind of things are happening. Resale value, JP villas in Greater Noida have grown 3x, 3.5x in last 2, 3 years. So this is the growth in Noida market all of us have seen. But Noida has not been like that. Many, this is just as an explosion. Many of us are not able to believe this, especially people who live in Noida. They are in denial mode. What has happened? You know, so that denial is there because Noida has not been like this. Noida has been, 6, 7 years. If you see, what was Noida? Sector 62, Film City, Atta Market, Advan Building, Parichok, JP Golf. Those were the reminiscent views of Noida. But it was a mass housing market. It was an affordable housing, low sizes, average construction. Pocket-friendly houses. Construction was not up to the mark. People who were not able to afford in Noida and Delhi, they used to buy in Noida. So that was the perception. Though infrastructure was great, people used to like greenery and roads, but suddenly this explosion, we have seen this evolution. Many of you may be living in Noida. I'm living in Noida for the last 13 years. So I will start this discussion with this evolution. How do you see in your memoir, you see this evolution happen? I mean, and then I'll come with what triggered this growth. So quickly, I'll just one by one go to the panelists. I'll talk about how do you see it, what are your memories of evolution, and then my follow-up question will be what triggered this growth.
Thank you. Very nice starting note. So Noida, we back in 2011, 2012, when we used to don the hat of an analyst and a consultant, we were always surprised as to why Noida has not been clocking the rates that Gurgaon has been clocking, or Delhi has been clocking. Fundamentally, everything was right about the city, and if the changes are happening today, that's something which is in line with the fundamentals. It should have happened long back. Now, if you look at the evolution of Noida, I basically look at it into three parts: pre-2003, 2003 to 2014-15, and beyond that. Pre-2003, if you look at that phase, Noida was probably placed at better premium even compared to Gurgaon, or at least it was at par with Gurgaon. So I have met people who told me that they bought houses in Gurgaon because they were not getting the houses in Noida at that price. And both of the cities primarily were not self-sustaining city, they were kind of satellite city. People who could not afford houses in Delhi, they used to buy houses in these two cities. There were a few people who were buying for lifestyle and all, but exception to that, that was the journey. Till 2003, I think that was very much common. Both cities had very little thing to differentiate. 2003 to 13, I would say that 2003 this expressway was started, Noida Expressway, and this opened a lot of real potential in Noida as well. And that was the time when a lot of things started happening in Gurgaon. But Gurgaon took off very quickly. I primarily attribute to the point that there was a lot of grade A office development, which drew a lot of corporates. Plus, it was well connected to the southern part of Delhi, the premium one, and airport was one of the enablers. Also, it had a lot of budget housing options close by. So when you analyze as an occupier, you look at the living facilities that the workers will have, the employees will have. So Gurgaon offered that by virtue of its vicinity to Vasantpur, Dwarka, and all those areas. So that is why Gurgaon, I think, picked up, and Noida slowly and steadily it was growing. It was never a rapid run or a double-digit growth in terms of CAGR, while Gurgaon was clocking double-digit CAGR. Now, cut to 2013, Gurgaon started feeling the pressure of those high rates. So between 2013 to till about 2019, what Gurgaon witnessed was kind of a lot of price corrections on the residential side. On the corporate side, it was even and fine journey, but on the residential side, a lot of correction happened. Correction initially happened in form of additional attributes, additional facilities given to the buyers. Later on, secondary market, there was correction even to the extent of 30 to 35%. While Noida held it on its own, the appreciation was not very high, 2, 3, 4% annual. But once we come down to the timeline of 2017-18, when a lot of infrastructure was announced and people started trusting that things will be turning around in Noida. A lot of exuberance started happening in Noida. And this also coincided with the timeline of a lot of branded developers coming to Noida, like opening of Sector 150, Lotus developers acting as a master developer, drawing most of the brands over there. So quality housing options emerged, and Noida started picking up. Last 2 years have been total exception. Now, over the last 2 years, what you've seen, what has happened is, I rate it as something which was overdue. Because in most of the sectors, Noida, if you look at the prices, commercial or residential, whatever, they were very close to the construction cost. So what about the land cost? What about the margins and upsides? So those prices themselves were defining fundamentals. So that correction was bound to happen. But now what we are witnessing as something as the prices like 60,000 or 12,000, those I would say that's something which is a bit of going ahead, and it's a margin gain. Also multiplied, amplified with the factor that the authorities has been allocating land at a very high rates. So if somebody is procuring land at that rate, there has to be X price at which it can be sold. So cut off price for viability, that has gone up. So that is also one factor which is contributing. Now, what we see now, with Noida, we also have Greater Noida. So whenever Noida becomes costly, Greater Noida has always provided an option of budget housing and affordable housing. So what is happening now? For the last 2-3 years, we have also witnessed a lot of corporates opting as Noida as one of their bases. So most of the corporates, with their prime bases in Gurgaon, they also have a base now in Noida, so that they can have their budget office options here, and their employees can have budget housing options as well. So livability is one factor which is quite high when we talk about IT-enabled services, those kind of companies. Going forward, I think this momentum should continue. We'll talk about this more.
Thank you, Naveen, and thank you, Ashutosh. You have explained very well. I would say that Noida has evolved to that segment where the corporates practically feel confident in this area. In the recent transactions, you know that Microsoft has taken land of 15 acres in Sector 145. That's practically their corporates are doing capital investment. And that's a big thing for Noida. 25 acres has been taken by Infosys. They are coming up with their own campus. 50 acres ITI SEZ is taken by TCS on Sector 154. So these all attributes show that how the Noida market has evolved to a place where the MNCs are doing the capital investment rather than going for leasing. Secondly, we see that how the commercial market has come up of Noida. Mall of India, you can see practically the whole South Delhi crowd is in Mall of India. So that's how Noida has evolved in the last 2 decades, that the whole scenario of commercial as well as residential has totally changed. If we talk about industrial, which is the backbone of these all the authorities, Noida, Greater Noida and Yamuna Expressway, the prices have almost, of phase 1 has been counted with the Okhla or Mohan Cooperative. This is something the mature markets have come up like any other city you can say. That's my thought process.
Shashank, coming to you, how do you see this evolution and growth has happened? Also, I would want if you can add how do you see residential market in Noida over a period of time? We would love to know more about residential market.
Sure, thank you, Naveen. And yes, just to start with, like you said, Naveen, it's been 13 years. So for me, it's a little, maybe 2 years more than you. So 15 years, I studied in Noida. I was alumni of RICS, right? So I've seen from a different perspective, from a young, perspective, especially what attracts for a youth, right, in a city. So one is affordability for sure. Like people who are working in Delhi, they cannot afford living in Delhi, right? Though you are making a good managerial role or even maybe a good salary, but still you cannot afford, to purchase a property over there, because when you get into South Delhi or Central Delhi, only I would say, some part of East Delhi, but again, it's very congested. There's no electricity, there's no water supply, there's traffic congestion. So that makes not a perfect place for someone to maybe, dream of building their own house. So that was one of the aspect, for a young person like me. So I always liked Noida, maybe because I started my journey from here, this market. I lived in Gurgaon for some time, but I literally hated it. I was there for 3 years. I lived in Bangalore, beautiful city, beautiful weather. But if I compare among all the cities I have visited, I did get a chance to visit, more than 200 cities in India. But no doubt, Noida is one of the best cities. From my perspective, there are three reasons. One is infrastructure, physical infrastructure. Second is social infrastructure. So if you go to any sector in Noida, right, so it's very properly planned. So they have planned this city in 1980, considering, what is the situation in 2020 or 2000. Then after 2000, they decided to, revamp, replan the city and expanding it to, horizontally. Then they come into Yamuna Expressway and all these things. Now, recently, what we have seen, there's a lot of congestion because of affordability. A lot of people, especially the migration happened from Western UP, from Eastern UP, people are coming from Uttarakhand. All these guys, they are actually investing because they are working here. It's a hub. NCR is a hub, right? So they're a metropolitan city. So what they have done, they have they have replanned the thing. They have recently come up with 2041 master plan. And if you see the planning, because I have also shared some of my inputs, they have actually planned for 2080, being in 2020. So I have not seen that kind of planning anywhere in this. So I have visited like Gandhinagar also, for example. It's one of the best planned city as per them, but not even closer, right? What Noida Authority has done. And this is because, bureaucrats are playing a crucial role here. Government definitely, drives it, but these are the people who are smart people. They try to think about giving back to the society. And that's one of the factors in my opinion. Second is social infrastructure. If you go to any sector in Noida, you will find school in every sector. It's pre-planned. A nursery school, every three sectors, there's a, higher secondary school. If you go to any 3 kilometer periphery, so primary, secondary, and tertiary, this is the micro markets which we define in real estate. So what happened in Noida? There is a retail space. It's organized retail. It's not like कि आप अपने घर के बाहर जाके एक shop खोल दो. Unlike Gurgaon, unlike any location. So that plays a very kind of crucial role in terms of control, like what are the land usage. So recently I visited to Mohali. Mohali also the situation is changing. People started opening shops in their like roadsides in land sector. But in Noida, if you do that, they will come and they will literally shut your this thing. The norms, the controls, it plays a very crucial role in terms of any city development. It's a leasehold land. There's always a I would say hindrance of purchasing property in Noida because people have a fear because leasehold है यार क्या करेंगे freehold मतलब obviously it's a fear. So earlier if you see Delhi also before 90s it's all leasehold, right? Because that's how the government planned it. But once your density, so government have definitely planned it to put it back to the like consumers, the clients, like who's using the property. So in Noida also, if you see, there are multiple meetings held. 195th meeting, in 2018 April, they decided that okay, we are going to give an approval that some of the sectors we are considering in converting into the freehold, right? So this is still in discussion, right? So there are high chances in next 5 years, 10 years, what we will see the highly dense sector, all the old sectors, they are going to convert it. Like in Gurgaon, we have seen they have increased the FAR to build another floor, and you can see the prices gone up, right? Crazy. So in Noida, if I talk about, sir, there are basics. I'll talk about basics, what I learned, right? So it's all about, we take an assumption of 3%, as a rental appreciation, or 5%, upper side, right? And if you see a CAGR, the average CAGR, right? So we take it as an assumption, coming from my advisory side, so 5%. So what happened in Noida, what I have seen in 2011 onwards, it slowed down. It was not that CAGR of 5% or 3% anymore. And there was a sluggishness in the market, especially residential or commercial. Just to give an example, based on high ticket size transactions, right, or a developer based transactions. So the average cost of FSI for a commercial back in 2017-18, right, it was in the range of 2,000, 2,200 rupees a square foot, right? And then you are getting a FAR of 2, right? If it's a convenience shopping or a commercial, it's always command a higher kind of pricing because you have a more utilization, right? But if you are talking about the IT, ITS, mixed land use, there is an I would say limitation that you can go up to this FAR, you can use up to this area. But now what happened over the period of time. There's a price appreciation, as I said. It was not increasing for last 7, 8 years, but it was long, like you said. And then what happened? It shooted up, right? After 2018, organized players started coming in. 2017, Brookfield acquired, one asset in Noida. That is actually building a lot of trust. Then second major factor after 2019-20, while Noida is booming, again supported by the government, they have put all their efforts. This is the city, they really wanted to create a futuristic city, an ideal city, which can be, people will start replicating it. So government has controlled on multiple things. One is your infrastructure, introducing the airport. So that is one of the driving factors. Second, building that IMP, kind of this warehousing and logistic hubs. So if you see in 20, 30 kilometers of periphery of Noida, the major highways are connecting, right? And now Noida 2 is coming, they just wanted to extend it to that level, right? So if you see, these are the things which actually drive a lot of investment, not only from India, but from foreign entities also. They have planned it in a way that there has to be a dedicated space. If someone wants to get a manufacturing unit, someone wants to get into a warehousing, he should reach, or his cargo should reach to the railway station within 10-15 minutes maximum. Also to the airport, to the major highways. So these are major, for example, decision makers. They look, what is the nearby I would say, access to the freeway, access to the expressway. So these are the things which is driving a lot of demand. And when there's a commercial demand is coming, right, obviously more and more people is going to work, right? So we have been talking and discussing all the major developers. They have transformed this market. Godrej played a crucial role. Godrej Goldframe. I remember that project started selling at 4,000, 4,500 rupees at inauguration. But today, if you go 10,000 rupees a square feet in Greater Noida, not even Noida, right? Because now they are coming to delivery and they have a new phase which they are planning to launch only at 15,000 rupees a square foot, right? So that's the kind of thing. Seeing that logic, again they have come with the new developers. I would say all organized players entered in the market. They have raised the demand. And just to talk about, there are two opinions in my view. Like one is affordability. Definitely, it's not the scene in Noida. You are not going to get anything less than 1 crore rupees, which used to be the market majority of the driver. But now, if you see in the other perspective, right, because prices are high, right, there's a beautiful infrastructure right now. We have social infrastructure, we have quality of schools. If you go and see, all the big leading schools in the country presence, they have a presence in Noida now, right? Talk about anything. So for a person who really wanted to settle, they need three things: lack of congestion, good social infrastructure, good, I would say livability index. And last point from my side, inflation actually played a crucial role, especially IT. If you see the packages, so it has gone up drastically. In 2020, average package of a Noida IT person or ITS person is in the range of 15 to 16 lakh. Today is 22 lakh rupees. These are the data, which is revealed by sixfigure.com. There's a company who tracks citywide livability. So these are the driving factors, and if someone has more money to spend, husband, wife are working, they can easily pay, 1 lakh rupees of EMI, they can easily go for 1.5 crore rupees of, kind of apartment for a bigger amenities. Thank you.
I love Shashank's passion about Noida. I just share a incident with you. I was, in an RFP pitch with a client, very premium LPO in Gurgaon. And normally what happens is that all of us, as Naveen has kind of just mentioned, that we need to have more presence in Noida. We've started pitching Noida as, even if it's a Gurgaon occupier, who's been there, we started pitching Noida as an alternate market. And earlier what used to happen is when we're going to a pitch, and a pitch is generally, we don't have this kind of luxury of time talking, exchanging notes. So it's always 45 minutes. Nobody gives you more time. And Noida was always negatively anyway, it's too much to absorb at this point, let's stick to Gurgaon. However, yesterday itself, and this happened yesterday, and I'm very happy that we're talking about this today. The client said, okay, he said, okay, a lot of law firms are now here. Cyril Amachal, Mangaldas, Ketan and company, etc. Let's look at it at least. And it's a blue chip UK based law firm. So I think there is a reality which is coming up. However, I have my own, I would say, thought processes on, I love Shashank's passion about Noida, but the reality is that let's just look at numbers, and a lot of people have thrown a lot of numbers, I don't remember all, I'm sorry. But out of the 12.5 million square feet of absorption that has happened last year, 30% of that is in Noida. So it's 4.5 million square feet, which if I compare to 2021 was 2 million plus, right? So I think there has been a jump. There is just no doubt about that. Evolution has happened. Naveen, you were talking about memories. I must share with you. In 2008, when I joined Colliers, this was like my first real estate IPC job. They used to say, you have to go and see Noida. And we used to have a dilapidated office in CP at that time. And of course, we used to love going to Noida because Noida was closer. But there was nothing. It was just one building in Expressway, which was Advant. And we were called for doing the LR there, I still remember. And we pitched, and the guy said, we're going to do this, and we're going to have a super ecosystem. And we were like, yeah, right, But it's a reality today. But the reality has taken a long time. We kept saying Noida is going to be the next thing, next big thing. But I think post-COVID, I think it has become the next big thing. Honestly, it has taken a long time. A lot of factors, I think the government's earnestness to do something is very much visible. I think, Mr. Batra, you mentioned about Microsoft, TCS, taking up, their own land parcels and investing. It's a big, big testimony to the market. IKEA is setting up, I just read that they're, investing about 5,500 crores over the next 7 years. There's going to be another City coming up, which is going to be 1,000 beds. I think perception plays a very, very important role for a market. I think law and order has drastically improved. There used to be a time when people used to say, it's not safe to go in Noida. And actually UP itself has transformed from a law and order situation. If Nitin would have called me a few years back in the evening in Noida, I would have thought that 10 times. So I think a lot of factors that it has evolved. But to say that it has reached that point, a pinnacle, I will still reserve my thoughts. Let's see how things happen. And the reason from an office real estate perspective, I'll say that developers like DLF who have actually developed the entire Gurgaon. I mean, if you see their portfolio in Gurgaon, it's 20 million, whereas they're not able to lease 200,000 square feet here. So I think there is still some time to come. Max, you were just talking about Max. When Max launched office, they said we're going to lease it around 100 rupees. We said, are you out of your mind? It's not going to get leased out. And interestingly, Kushman did about 3 large deals there. So flight to quality, I think customers need good quality stuff. And I think that's something that Noida has been lacking. आप expressway पे जाते हो, what F&B options do you have? You go to Advant or you go to Skymark. I can't think of the third one. So yeah.
Now it's coming.
So I'm just being a devil's advocate here. I think there is a lot of scope. The Alpha Thumbs of the world, the Kodani Group, the CRC, for that matter, even Okaya, these guys are coming up. But let's see the intent. If they keep selling their floors, if they don't have the right tenant mix, I think we'll again be stuck in the same situation. Whereas Gurgaon, what is happening is most of the big developers, whether you talk about the institutional players, यहाँ पे भी हैं, but these are second generation developments that they have actually acquired. We need to see them more coming up in greenfield projects. I think that's the need of the hour. That's it.
Supriya reminded me one old incident. I spent a lot of time in US in 2017 and 18. During this transition, I became a coffee maniac. And whenever I used to come back to Noida, I was struggling for a good coffee and I could never find it. But today, if you go, there must be, I would say,
Hundreds coffee shop.
at least 50 plus nice coffee shops.
Fantastic.
So that's a transition. I mean, I can go every day to a single coffee shop. So I mean, they may not be organized F&B spaces, but yes, there are nice places which have come up. And as you rightly said, it's a beginning, and a lot of miles to go. Let's see how it goes. And moving forward, Ashutosh, I mean, any on the panel can answer this. Here, quickly for next 5 minutes, I want to discuss upcoming. We talk in totality how Noida has been, the residential revolution, the scenario of commercial it is going. Moving forward, what do you think? Which are those, aha moments or which are coming, or the, Mula projects which may change this scenario? Because we keep reading about those big ticket size infra projects starting from airport. Then there are a lot of connectivities, a lot of logistics parts. How do you see, these big infra projects can bring in a lot of investments, and they can, force few of these big MNCs, industrial revolutions, so that people can move in. That do you see that, pull factor is happening?
So a lot has happened in Noida, and I believe there is a room for a lot to happen. So one distinctive thing about Noida, when we talk about NCR in totality, if you look at Noida, it has become an exclusive mobile manufacturing hub. When you go towards Greater Noida and beyond, it is something that is a distinction. So a lot of discussion also going on chip manufacturing, which can happen again on that side. What is adding to the confidence is authorities' promptness to lead all these developments, and being very upcoming and forthcoming in inviting different players or experts in different fields to undertake projects. Like for example, we are talking about the airport. Now there's an entire city which is planned near the airport. As of now, they call it YEDA. I think they will rename it something. So it's an acronym. Coincidentally, it's YEDA, but let's see. There's an entire industrial town which is planned on lines of what Noida and Greater Noida, how they work. So what it adds up is affordable spaces for residential, affordable spaces for all segments of real estate like commercial and industrial. So that provides avenue for further expansion. If, in comparison, I will compare this to another two towns like Ghaziabad, Faridabad, where industrial can happen. Now, on those directions, we go for industrial development. It's not very channelized. The way it is channelized is vector of NCR. If I look at NCR in totality, with this kind of development and new Noida being planned on the western, eastern side of Noida, this entire, if you look at NCR, the gravity of the development will shift towards east. As of now, it was more towards center and west of center. Now the gravity will gradually shift towards east. Gurgaon, of course, will remain the first choice of grade A corporates, but still, a lot of other kind of developments like techno-commercial, industrial, mobile manufacturing. Noida is carving a niche for itself in different categories. So these will come. Now, what additionally is coming is a lot of better livability in terms of better infrastructure. Here, infrastructure precedes development. So in any other part of NCR, you have houses constructed, OC, CC given, but no road to go over there. There's waterlogging. In Noida, first road goes, electricity is provided there, then the license is distributed, and then construction is done. So livability is very good. Law and order, people used to struggle in this part of. I remember 7 years back, I was in Gore City was to meet someone, and that person told me that leave before 7 through that bridge. Otherwise, 3 days back, a car was taken away on gunpoint. So that's not the case anymore, and that's quite evident. If you drive through any part of Noida, Greater Noida, you have these PCR vans, these police standing in, you feel that confidence. So that has not emerged overnight, that a lot of serious effort has gone into this. So ultimately what it does is it improves the livability, and if we have to draw large corporates, of course we definitely need grade A buildings from commercial developers, as Supriya highlighted. As of now, most is straight sold, but that change will happen with all those corporate taking land over there. And with better livability for their employees, corporates will definitely choose Noida more over any other part of NCR. Of course, I'm not trying to compare it with Gurgaon, but Gurgaon is something which has happened over time. With grade A developer has totally, I think, single-handedly done a lot for Gurgaon. So Noida's moment will come, and these were the driving factors which will take it forward.
Mr. Patra, you want to add any thing how from Noida Expressway, then Yamuna Expressway, and then Dadri area. This is 3 industrial areas, zones, corridors are emerging. You see how this gonna impact the overall development, pricing, the migration. The biggest thing is migration, because we all of us have witnessed Greater Noida for a number of years as a ghost town, right?
See, the best part is that Noida has already scaled up that, as Shank told about the master plan. So the new Noida will definitely is an entry point for any kind of industrialist. Currently, the market is like Noida industrial prices are around 1 lakh rupees. Greater Noida is around 40 to 50,000 rupees. Yamuna is somewhere around 20 to 30,000 rupees per square meter, and that too in auction. The best part is there is no entry level for a new industrialist to come up. And new Noida will definitely start this trigger point to have an entry space into this belt. Second, I would say FNG will be a major game changer for Noida because that's a connectivity which definitely takes industrial to a different level. Eastern peripheral, western peripheral already done it. FNG will add more value to it. Second, as we see it as a global platform, MotoGP is coming up next month, which was actually closed for the last 5 6 years. There was no event happening. So MotoGP as an international event will definitely add more value towards Noida. That will be a great game changer. Thank you.
Now, moving little bit, dive into the asset classes. Shashank, I want to discuss more onto how do you see residential prices today? Do you find overpriced? Do you see they are stable? Do you see some correction? I mean, how do you see demand and supply scenario? And I also want to highlight few of the hotspots, how things are. And just to put in context here, see, many a times we have this habit comparing Noida and Gurgaon. I mean, naturally, it is but natural, it happens, right? Gurgaon is Gurgaon, Noida is Noida, Greater Noida, and Era. These are, three different authorities. They are governed, by three different authorities. And geographical area is large. So character is different, players are different, affordability is different. So if you can put that context in place.
I think बड़ा अच्छा सा क्वेश्चन पूछा है and like you said compare Noida with Gurgaon. I'm not going to compare, but yes. So majority of the transactions I have done in last 7 years into luxury market, that is in South Delhi and Central Delhi, right? Must have sold 3,000 odd crores property by myself. So what is happening now in Delhi? If you go, there's no availability on it. There's no supply available. If you go to GK1, GK2, CR Park, Kalkaji, the roads are that narrow, not even a single car can pass it because there are cars on the side. अभी I think social media पे सबने देखा होगा लड़ाई का scene GK1 में, like people were fighting and beating other person on the parking only. So that is one of the reason why people are coming and settling in the good localities of Noida. If you see the connectivity wise, earlier Ashram was the challenge, but after this flyover come up, there's a huge demand. I can tell you, on the facts. My team is working. Shashank is there. His team, dedicated team of 50 people working in Noida. Majority of the people who are entering in Noida market, they are coming from East to South Delhi. And South Delhi, category 2 and category 3, right? Category B and category C kind of area. Where the person is only able to buy a small apartment, let's say for GK2, for 300 square yard post-COVID. The prices has gone up in that market also. And because land prices are going up, obviously the apartment prices are also going up. So what is happening, you can only accommodate, let's say 300 square feet, 300 square yard, which is going to give you 1500 square feet, a 3-bed, very congested 3-bedrooms, right? And a very narrow parking for one car. And if you are spending and the price for that particular apartment is not less than 5 crore rupees, right? So what is happening now, everyone who's willing to spend 5 crore rupees, you need to understand the psyche of the people, right? So they must be running a small business, right? Or they are working in some good MNC, or they are having, maybe some inherited property, but now the family is growing. So where they are going to accommodate? Either they have to purchase a bigger land and they have to spend more, And 5 crore rupees, if you see the quality of life, the quality of space you are getting, not life, the quality of space you are getting. If you spend that 5 crore rupees in Noida market, that is where the demand is actually coming from. Second, talking about the supply side, yes, there was a situation where Noida was not never been a choice, like for someone, especially for people who's born and brought up in Delhi. But now after these incidences, like everything is happening here and there, they prefer go to Gurgaon. But those who are literally not in a need of traveling daily to Gurgaon, if they compare, then Noida is definitely there is a place to be, right? So if you are not working in Gurgaon, that doesn't make sense, right, to go there and live there in Gurgaon. It's better to live in Noida. You will find better schools, right? Proximity to Delhi, where your friends, family are there, 10, 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes, you will hit South Delhi, right? So now talking about the
Sorry, I'm particularly looking. So do you see these prices are sustainable? Let's stick to prices.
yeah, prices, if I talk about the prices, definitely, right now, if you see, we have to compare the inflation part also. So you know it better than me, you have structured a lot of deals. So if you talk about the inflation rate, like, and in last 6 years, if you just add it up, 25%. So this is the need of an hour to increase that pricing, right? So Noida has never seen that 25% kind of a raise. So if you go to the prices, let's take an example of 150 where we both have worked. So there, the market was trading at 4,500 rupees when we started. FSI cost was again going back to the numbers, 1,800 rupees a post, 2,000 rupees a square feet construction, 1,000%, like 25% of developers margin, 5% sales. So that makes a easy sell of 4,500 developer can enter into this. Right now, if you see the last transactions, Max has acquired this land parcel at 308 crore rupees for a 10 acre, which comes the FSI goes to 3,000 odd crores, 3,000 rupees a square feet. Then on the top of that, because it's a high-end development, right? So obviously you have to take 5,000 rupees as a benchmark because of sustainability. If it would have not sustainability, then it gives you a price of 8,500, 8,600. On the top of that, 2,000 rupees, you can put it the licensing, marketing, all these things, which makes you 11,000 rupees. So I think launching at 18,000 rupees, give a 1,000 rupees in overage, 100% makes sense, considering the location.
See, I have, I'm completely in sync what you're saying. Everyone, I would say, on the market side, they will be in sync with what you're saying. But now, from the customer's perspective, there is a big gap. I meet so many, friends, family. So there is a huge gap of garib aadmi kahan hai. So let me complete my question. And that garib is not garib, by the way. I'm just talking about an aspirational family who wants to buy a house in the range of 1 to 1.5 CR. It's not a small budget, by the way. Right? And these are, those people who kind of delayed their decision for some whatever reason. Where will they go? Noida is, they can't buy in resale.
So now,
And again, I'm just putting another dot here. Noida extension just witnessed the launch of 3.5 crore flat. Now you answer.
So I think जैसे सर ने बोला ना, so basically I'll give it three babies of like UP government and let's say Noida, Greater Noida and Yamuna. So what is happening in Noida right now? Obviously it's much before developed. It started in 80s, early 80s, 81, 82, 83. That was the time when these allocation of plots happened in residential commercial. And I think Mr. Batra is sitting here. He has seen more, I would say, transactions than me. But now, if you see, the city is growing. We are expanding, right? So we are going towards more. If you talk about affordability, still a person can actually purchase a 3 bedroom, a nice 3 bedroom. If you go towards, Noida extension side, towards the Hindan side, right? So some sectors, 78, 79, you might find something.
Noida is out of reach for these people.
Right. So it's actually a part of Noida. If you see, it's only 15 minutes. Now the metro is there, right? So if you talk about the Noida and Greater Noida distance.
So that segmentation is clear. Noida Expressway is.
Now it's on the definitely. So it's now I don't want to compare again with Gurgaon, but if you go to Gurgaon, Golf Course Road, it's unaffordable, right? So you know what kind of people are living there, what kind of clients are there, what kind of tenants are there. Similarly, if you have a budget to spend, 150, 200 rupees a square feet as a tenant, right? So you will consider might be, MG Road, maybe Golf Course Road, Golf Course Extension Road. But if you have a budget of 100 rupees, you have to go you have to go to, SPR. आपके पास है ही नहीं ना? So this is the same. If you have a budget of 1 crore rupees, you have to go to Dwarka Expressway.
Summarize it like, Noida is maturing.
Absolutely.
More zoning zoning is happening, segmentation is happening. Not like there is Golf Course Road in Gurgaon, there is Noida Expressway in Noida. So that segmentation is
As a just to add here, there are two golf courses in Noida. Golf course road has only one.
By the way, Noida has 5 golf courses.
5 golf courses.
Three,
Yes.
Three operational.
Three operational, one under construction, and one is coming. So you are absolutely right, and sir, I just wanted to add here, why 150 has grown. So you asked me about the nodes, right? So 150, if you talk about, these are the, like Noida used to be affordable, this thing, and we have done some work, and when we were, putting up report about 6 years back, and we definitely considered that part because it's a low dense sector. The apartment size is almost 2 times or 2.5 times in that particular, market. So if you see, you talk about, there's a 300 acres of development which is going to be habitated, and then there is 700 acres of development which is just open for sports facility. Right now the sector 150 is struggling because habitation started happening, but the development of social infrastructure, right, the stadiums, the golf course they have planned, the parks they have planned, it's not being developed by the master developer.
Perfect. So I'll come back to you. So moving to commercial, Supriya, my question to you is, Noida commercial market, it is dominated with strata sales, right? So what suggestion do you have for our developer friends and investor fraternity, or you can share your learning from other markets?
So that's a good question, and me and my colleague Nitin were just deliberating about this, that in the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a stock of supply coming up in the range of 10 to 15 million square feet. Now, just to put that in perspective, again, I have to compare, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because Delhi NCR is all about Delhi, Gurgaon and Noida. So if I am a occupier, a real estate consultant has to tell them as to what's the stock in Noida vis-a-vis Gurgaon and NCR. So NCR in total today is 137 plus minus million square feet, right? Out of which Noida today stands at about 37 million plus minus square feet of stock. And to top it, there's going to be another 10 to 15 million of stock, square feet of stock coming up. And mind you, the strata sold stock which is currently there are huge vacancies there. There's a contradiction in the market. Advant, because of its grade A campus nature, etc., fully leased out. But there are so many vacant, plots all across the expressway. So when you have the grade A developments coming up and people have already tasted, good quality supply, what's going to happen is that we are quite bullish that the grade A supply is going to get lapped up very quickly. But what's going to happen with the strata sold stock which is existing and lying? Now that's a question that we also keep asking ourselves. What's going to happen? Do you think a PE fund, do you think an investor will actually be able to do something about that stock? Interestingly, when Unitech was in a bad shape, it's actually Brookfield which came to its rescue. So we need a lot of other funds, maybe not the high-end, the Brookfields and the Blackstones of the world, but there are, I would say, tier 2 funds, etc., who can look at coming up and investing in those current supplies and making sure that some upgradations, etc., are done to those buildings. There'll be a contradiction in the market. There'll be an oversupplied market, which is going to be with these grade B buildings. And then there's going to be those grade A buildings, because we've already seen, Max and the Advance of the world, some part of Stellar. Stellar has also come up with nice real estate. I think there is going to be the flight to quality, which is going to be there. Again, it's the same thing, that the good quality supply, you'll see vacancies in the range of less than 5%. But the strata sold supply, there will be vacancy of 30% plus. That's how we look at it. And in terms of hotspots, I think you asked that question. A very simple thing that was a nightmare a few years back was the whole commute from the Noida Market to Sector 62. I think the whole elevated road, I think just doing that has changed so much of the landscape of Noida. Today, Sector 62, we have clients who are looking at expansion spaces. Jagah nahi hai, Sector 62. There is just no office real estate which is available, barring maybe 1 or 2 campuses. there is just no space. But if you go to the expressway, you will find enough real estate. But relevant real estate is the question. And the relevant real estate which is coming up is going to come up in the next 3 to 5 years. We see the positive thing that I see is that the quality of real estate, if I compare to Gurgaon again, the quality of real estate which is coming up in Noida is way superior when we see the specs of the building, etc. And if the developers actually come up with their intent to do exactly what they have planned, I think the real estate quality is going to be way better. And our guess is that compare building, 140 rupees is the average rental in Gurgaon, whereas here it's going to be around 80 to 90 rupees. So residential, लोग वही रहते हैं जहाँ उनके offices होते हैं. Let's face it. All the आप कह रहे थे ना जनता कहाँ जाए, चाहे घर खरीद सके या ना खरीद सके, you can always rent out. So I think office and schools will definitely lead to more demand of residential. I would not be able to comment on price, but I'm actually very shocked when I was doing my research that the price is 18,000 rupees a square feet, which is actually.
Let me correct here. People are not getting units.
Now it's 20,000 rupees a square feet.
And this is amazing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have so much of vacant stock as far as office is concerned. So I think there is a kind of a contradiction in the market, and let's see how it kind of evolves from now.
So Supriya, एक just छोटा सा मैं add करना चाहूँगा यहाँ पे without mic only. So I remember, sitting in DTZ office, I think Suprita can relate, and we were having this argument, the same thing, when DLF came to us, they started camellias at that time, awarded the contract. They came to us, what should be the price, launching price, and we had a huge debate within a team, like we sitting here, and the both teams were sitting, capital markets was also there, and we were talking about the pricing. DLF said, I'm going to take this, I'm going to launch this particular project somewhere closer to 28,000 rupees a square feet. That time, Magnolias was trading at 13,000 rupees, right? So it was not at all justifiable for us, seeing that kind of a vision. Like you said, the developer, plays a very crucial role. And again, infrastructure and government policy is definitely command. So then what happened, we were having a debate of giving that value of 28,000 as a starting price. And I remember, having a discussion with Rajiv ji. उस टाइम पे उन्होंने पता सीधे बोला, कहते यार मैं जब इसको लास्ट बेचूंगा, I will sell it at 50,000 rupees once my property is ready after 7 years. And we were sitting and we were like this, because no one can expect कि Delhi के अंदर और गुड़गांव के अंदर we are talking about 50,000 rupees a square feet, an apartment which is going to be at 40 crore rupees, right? But today it's 65,000 rupees a square feet they are selling. So you have to have that vision, and I think this is the same discussion I had with Max people also. It's a first venture. We are talking about this number, and they said, "What is the loan price?" I said, 14,000 is something which we can maybe justify. And he said, "I'm thinking about 20,000." I said, "Are you insane?" He said, "Yeah, because I already have a commitment of 50%." I said, "Maybe settle in between 60,000 rupees, like you said." So my team also, Prashant is sitting here. So we have picked up around 12 UIs, and out of that, when the price literally came up, half of the people will literally shy away. Because it's a big amount, 8 crore rupees, 9 crore rupees apartment, we have never witnessed in Noida. And what happened, it's all gone without even launching. You are also, kind of witnessing it.
Yeah, so just before we start Q&A, few things. So, Pataji, my question to you is, what we are now seeing and witnessing, Noida, land parcels are getting scarce. Every developer comes to us, do you have any FSI, do you have any plot? How do you see the new Noida as an opportunity for developers and investors? Or what timelines you
As we just discussed about the affordability part, I think new Noida will be the new affordable, which will be the major hub for the developers, because that's where the industrial and the allotment will start very soon, because acquisition have already been started. UP government has apart the funds for that. So new Noida will be the new affordable area for this segment. As far as Noida authority is concerned, as we discussed this before, they are taking major steps for those projects which are holders. They are targeting that the new developer who will be completing the project, they are going to issue a mortgage permission for that. It will be a major game changer for all the startup projects which are actually there, because the prices of the market have already increased, and now the new developer has a scope to make money. That will be the game changer, at least for the structured projects.
Ashutosh, question on behalf of all the audiences and the customers. There are a lot of ads, a lot of hoo-halla about plotting developments on Yamuna Expressway. What do you say about these private developers plotting, or any do's, don'ts, or cautiousness, or just people stay away from that?
So, it's a very relevant question. So, as soon as all my connections knew that I am joining this organization, the next question from everybody, the first question came was, "कोई plot दिला दे."
I'm sure.
I had to say, plot के business में नहीं हुआ है, but still I will look around and if I come across something, I'll let you know. And I will be typically very risk-averse person, so I will not go for any local plotted developments. I'm not sure about the title. If I have the capability to do the due diligence, to know the title, who was in the background, how the things are transferred, how I can protect my plot after delivery, कब्जा ना हो जाए, घोसला घोसला टाइप मिल जाएगी. So if you can do that, probably go for that because it's a very value pick. If you can do the due diligence, you can protect your plot. But apart from that, only organized options. Recently, they have come up with a scheme of plotting. I think the 1100 odd plots they have launched. And I think it's going to be 100 or 1500 times oversubscribed because everybody is talking about it. Apart from that, there are good options in Gaur Yamuna city, though they are already trading at a very premium. So I remember that when there was this pre-bid meeting for the airport. So as a consultant, I came to attend this meeting just to see how what's the buzz around. And I took a trip down to Gaur Yamuna city to see if we can have plots and all that. And at that point of time also, I thought that it's already hyped and it's trading at 2x. Now from that point, this is again going to go 2x. So if there are investors who have long-term horizon for plots, if you are looking to invest, have a 10 to 15 year time horizon, and you can buy even now. Even I can see an upside over there because the entire city is being planned. And now talking about the airport, it's going to be operational by end of next year. So the first phase, which is planned for the capacity of 12 million passengers per year, that will be operational by end of next year. And once the airport happens, it is a natural multiplier. So we have seen across, Hyderabad, the Shamshabad airport came up. So there's a difference between the exuberance around those airports and this airport. When Shamshabad happened, there was a lot of exuberance and prices multiplied and they corrected hugely later on. For next almost 5-7 years, they were in correction mode. Here the game is different. Here the government authorities, they have planned many infrastructure projects around it. Entire city is being planned. The entire area is being connected through a network of highways, expressways and everything. It will directly be connected to your Western Peripheral Expressway, which will further connect to the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. And once you do that, you are connected to the entire supply line which goes to Gujarat and Mumbai and all those places. So it becomes very viable for industries. With government support, lots of industries are coming, toy park, medical devices park. You have Film City coming, they are trying the third attempt of the bid. And this time they have relaxed many norms to make it very investor friendly. And I'm sure it's going to happen. They have also carved out land for amusement park in the Film City. And 2-3 visits have already happened. This is an idea that has been put in from previous government. And this government is very bullish and aggressive to drive it. So once these things happen, these things will back and provide a fundamental for all the exuberance. So even if there is a bubble which has come up, generally comes up around any of those new infrastructure projects, this is here to sustain. And if somebody has a 10 to 15 year time horizon, it is going to hold.
That's a good tip. So before we move towards concluding things, just one interesting question. Another I want to just throw. Anyone can answer that. How do you see capital markets playing a role in Noida market?
सर ये तो आपसे बेटर कोई आंसर कर नहीं सकता.
I don't know the answer.
You should take this question, sir.
So, as we have already, as a panel, we have echoed that fact that there's a lot of status for stock here, and lack of developer of the kind of DLR. Those two things have to happen. Strata sale as an ideology should give way to organized graded developments. So many people talk Red Wine Nevis as a grade A building, but since my office is there, I keep noticing many things, and at best, I rate it as B plus. So in Noida, I still think that there's lack of grade A supply. I'll quote a simple example. Back in 2017, I was advising a client who had a plot right in Sector 94. And doing backwards calculation, I found that their leasing value rate should be above 90 to be affordable, to be viable. And there was a lot of discussion how Noida can clock that rate and why Noida could clock that rate. And I actually put it as a point that you hardly have any grade A building in Noida as of now. Even Max Towers were just acquired and they were also shipping up that tower. So I was strongly of the opinion that if you provide the supply, provide the building, you'll never see those kind of tenants. I go to the example of those Nehru Place buildings. They were clocking rates of 94 to 120 rupees, and they are nothing. Just I will rate them as a C class building. So it's just a matter of time when you bring those supplies and capital intensive play those things will happen once you have quality stock which can draw quality and grade A kind of occupiers.
Very well said, Ashutosh. Just to add, few points in that. See, historically, Noida market has been, जिसे कहते हैं real estate में त्रासदी पे त्रासदी रही है Noida market में. Being an affordable destination, the biggest advantage as well as the spiral loophole of this market was whole land was on lease, and that too on a 8 years payment horizon. So 10%, you just pay, 3-4 brokers get together and they become the developer. So that confidence of investor fraternity was never here because skin of the developer was never there in the game of any of these developers. Second, selling was not an issue in Noida because affordability was there, and initial 3 to 6 months, all these mid-segment developers used to sell their inventory via subvention schemes, down payment schemes. So just imagine, by paying 10% payment, they have allotted the land and almost 70-80% inventory sold, and they received 60-70% of the receivables. How cash rich developer would have been? And then fiasco happened, all these top biggies, they collapsed. So capital markets, because of all these, and fraternity has not come out of all these things. Whosoever has, they try to experiment, they have burnt their hand. And for last 2-3 years, investor industry itself, struggling, they are trying to stabilize. But with the new schemes of Noida Authority, 100% payment, Cat A developers coming, all these, there are statuses, there will be, asset owners holding their assets. So every city has these kind of things, but that ratio is drastically increasing in Noida. So I think people are in wait and watch mode, but suddenly I would say bright times are ahead. So far, what builders are doing, they are cutting off their inventory at a discounted price. So that is, shortcuts people are taking, and developers are happy because they have seen all these biggies, how they got trapped in debt, hurricane and all that. So going forward, times are bright, but wait and watch.
Just one last point, I forgot to mention it, is the development of, I'm still being pro Gurgaon it seems like, but I would now say something. There has been a huge emphasis on the data centers. So if you just look at the stats, there's 3.5 million square feet of data centers that are leased in the last 2 to 3 years, and still I think most of the data center players, as we understand from our own teams, are looking and scouting for lands and direct allotments from the government. So I think that is also going to be a very, very big game changer. So when we talk about game changers, I think data centers is one thing which Noida definitely has an edge today. Even Greater Noida might have. So when Google has come up in the heart of sector 60, 62 with a 50 megawatt data center. So I think that's another point that
That's good news. So just to conclude this discussion, I want to hear some concluding remarks with capturing how do you see the future trends in this market, and summarize how do you see Noida market in the years ahead.
So, on the residential side, Expressway has witnessed a CAGR of close to 10% over the last 11 years. Last 3 years, we have seen a CAGR of 75, overall growth of 75% over the last 3 years. So, do we have a room for more growth in prices? If not growth, probably they will hold on. And if we have to look at other emerging sectors, they will definitely grow. And as I stated earlier also, with new developments coming up in Yeda sectors in the new Noida, the gravity of development of the infrastructure will shift towards east. And Noida in this region has carved a niche in special segments. I mentioned mobile manufacturing of data centers one more. And going forward, I think that with entertainment film city coming up, that's going to add one more aspect. Plus multimodal logistic hubs. That is one plant beyond Tapal, one near Dadri, and all these things will bolster up and provide new kind of drivers to Noida, which will be distinctive and different from Gurgaon.
So,
I think that there's a speculation that the Yamuna Expressway area has been projected as the future Olympic city if India is awarded with an Olympic. So that will be a great game changer if that comes up and the growth potentials are too high for that. Thank you.
that's a great perspective. We have discussed this speculation many a times. Only time will tell.
Sports stadium.
I think Jewar Airport is going to, I mean, there's always been this, I think, while we can deliberate on the distance, etc., from main Noida city, it's 50 kilometers ahead. But I think perception-wise, it's going to be very, very big game changer, honestly, because when earlier we used to tell clients, where is the airport, international airport? It's in Delhi. Now we'll say, yes, we have an international airport. I mean, I think that's going to be a very, very big A++ for Noida.
Sure. So just to conclude, three aspects. One is an asset class perspective. So Noida is still short of retail space, organized retail, where the institutional player or a good organized developer like DLF has already seen success. I would say, I think less than 2% of vacancy rate. They are despite of COVID also, right? So some more people, some more developer has to create certain still scope of development. Second, talking about the affordability, yes, there's a huge opportunity in Yeda and a little to go further in the Noida West area, right? Talking about the commercial expressway is going to be a lot of supply as you just mentioned. So maybe in 5 years you will see a different expressway when you are traveling, because I can imagine that because the last 5 years what I have seen is totally different. Coming and commuting to the same route every day, and then you can see the difference. Right? There's a whole tall buildings come up in Noida. So I think these are the three opportunities in terms of asset classes. Talking about, yes, infrastructure is going to play a very crucial role, and being a richest authority in India, so they don't rely on kind of additional funding. And every I would say fund, right? So if you talk about infrastructure fund, they are happy to put their money or back into Noida, because whatever they promise, they deliver before time, right? So I think this is going to be the game changer in my opinion. Thank you.
I will just add a few points in this. Great points every panelist has made. A couple of things I just want to highlight here is, one is sheer geographical size. If we put together today Noida, Greater Noida and Yamuna Expressway, they fall in Gautam Budh Nagar district. Now going forward, Bulandshahr and Aligarh districts will be further added. The area of Delhi, NCT Delhi area is roughly 1,450 square kilometers. And Gautam Budh Nagar has the same area. So once these Bulandshahr and Aligarh areas will be added, so this in itself will be a megapolis. Hoga nahi hoga, only time will tell, but there is definitely this sheer size opportunity. Two, there is definitely, as on date, a political willingness. Noida is a gateway to UP, which has a population of, everyone knows, fifth or sixth largest country, equivalent to fifth or sixth largest country. And the way they have connected road network, rail network, and airport connectivity within the state, and their push towards making UP a 1 trillion economy, they have to develop Noida as their gateway, or to say their financial capital. So these two, from my side, becomes very important. Third, all these bet on these infra projects, be it airport, be it film city. What kind of migration this can put? If these three things fall in place, believe you me, 5 years down the line, we will be counting Noida as another Pune or another Hyderabad. We may not be comparing it with Gurgaon or part of NCR, because potential is that much. Whether it will happen, it will not happen. We need to give this bright city 5 to 7 years, but it has all the opportunities at that place. Time will tell whether we'll be able to connect the dots. Or not. On that note, thank you very much. Thank you, RICS and all the organizing people. Yeah, we will. Any question from audience? Anything from any panelists?
So I have a question. Okay, so I have a question for Supriya. So being a commercial real estate consultant, I am working in this market for the last 5-6 years. So I have seen there are only 4 segments. There are only 4 phases in this Noida market. There is phase 1, the sector 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bed. There is another phase 2, that 80, 81, 82, 83. There is expressway, and there is 57 to 68. So one challenge mostly clients are facing nowadays is the inventory. Apart from expressway, there is no inventory either in sector 63, either in sector 67, either in sector 1, 2, 3, 4. But there is another major challenge is the parking space. So apart from expressway, there is no parking space available. Most of the clients are moving from phase 1 to expressway, once from sector 62 to expressway. So is this going to be the next biggest challenge for the Noida market, the parking problem for the office spaces? Is this going to be the, and how will this market going to solve this problem?
See, I'll tell you, it's a very good question. Parking is a universal challenge.
Yes.
It is not restricted to Noida, first of all. However, the character of NCR again is that people, although there is last mile connectivity and Noida has a beautiful metro network, still I think the number of people traveling in their own cars is a lot more as compared to other geographies. What I can throw light on is that the developments which are going to come, you rightly said there is not much supply coming up in City. But the provision of the developments which are coming up in the next 3 to 5 years, I think most of them are coming up with 4-level basements, etc. And earlier the car parking ratio used to be 1 per 1200 square feet. And today it's going to be anything between 1 per 500. So I think there is that whole intent of the developers to address the problem. But I think parking has always been a universal issue. It's a challenge that's specific to North. North people, if you actually see, even I'll tell you my own office, we all will go to one place and everybody will take their own cars, which is not the case in other cities. This is a very North India problem. Everybody wants to have their car, whether they have a house, whether they have savings in their bank, people want to have their cars. However, I think the intent is there. Most of the developers are keeping that in mind, whether with stacked car parking or level of basements are increasing. But yeah, the challenge, will it go away completely? I don't see that happening, but yeah, it definitely will ease up.
Just to add here, I think Noida has already delivered 6 MSCP, right? And there are another 14 are there.
You should take him for our Noida pitches, yeah.
I actually keep on interacting, with these Noida authority people. So that's why I'm aware about these projects. And I don't know all the nodes if you go, and they're coming up the new one in 62 itself, right? So they have already been awarded, the contract been awarded. and I think it will add on another 50,000 car park space. So if you go to 16, right, so they already built and delivered, there's a space of 20,000 car park. If you go to Mahamaya, right, and there's another 20,000 is already there. Sector 18, 50,000 is already being delivered. So I don't think this is going to be a challenge, but again, it's a mindset of people like, we just wanted to park inside the building. We don't want to walk. So for me also, my office is next tower. I always wanted to pay more and park in the basement instead of parking across the road, which is just 20.
Thanks to Nitin, he gave panelist car parking.
Yeah. So this is the situation.
See, I tell you, Ashutosh office is there, Advant is the right example. You know, the buildings which are old design, right? My feeler is, you wait for 5 years, rentals in Advant may go down because of parking.
Yes.
If further grade A buildings come in the surroundings area, which are coming. So
Sir, FAR से building तो खड़ी करते हैं, but parking तो नहीं.
and you know why is this so? Because these are not deep pocket developers. They have to sell strata cell and building तब बिकेगी जब ground से बाहर आएगा. So this is a structural problem, which you know may fade with the time, but that character of buildings will be visible. You can't just wipe out such things. Such developers will keep happening.
Sir, I have a question, especially related to the authorities. If you see Noida is saying so much they're doing, but if you see the infrastructure initiatives, especially the construction of the new metro that is proposed from Botanical to Sector 142, which has been delaying from so long. Another metro patch which has been constructed from Sector 151, again going to the Pari Chowk, it has been again getting delayed. If we see the social development initiatives, for example, hospitals, we hardly have one government hospital in the entire Noida and Greater Noida, if I am correct on that part. And if you see the private hospitals also, there are only 2 or 3 which are good ones. So especially for catering the population of this long, and we are not having these kind of good hospitals, I think it's gonna be a challenge. And second part, if we see recently, since all the buildings, residential buildings are getting older, now the AOA has to come up and take the charges. But if we see the current trend, all the lifts are falling, what we are seeing in the current societies, which has been a mark on the development, and especially the seepage and all what we see in this particular building. So especially like how we can deal with this thing, because projects have been getting delayed.
I can answer your last question.
Yeah.
For the previous ones I asked other panelists. A few years back, I brought a Mumbai developer to show Noida Brahman, I'm correct. I took him to this 76, 78, 79 sector. You know what he said? Naveen, you are showing me only slum rehabilitation buildings. Where are the main buildings?
Absolutely, sir.
Those were delivered buildings. So that has been the character, that has been, you can say, dark side of those developers, those developers. Now onwards, we believe things are improving because that filtering has been done.
Especially, sir, last year while teaching to the clients, whenever you used to say new metro patch going to become up, or new safari, that was night safari which was supposed to be building up, and saying the ISBT which gonna come up in the Noida, always showing that on your presentation and pitching to the client. And then the client says, this thing you keep pitching me again year and year. I'm not seeing any development happening with them. So just remove it.
You need to also see, I'm just trying to be political correct on your behalf. Which project announced in which government?
Correct.
Very important. You need to pay attention.
Sir, it is about Noida authority.
And there's one more advice. One more advice. Don't show anything which is proposed.
That's all we have to say. While pitching.
You can say it's a pipeline or something.
We have been pitching airport for almost 2 decades.
See, today, I mean, to sell any residential or commercial thing, I don't see we need to showcase any proposal. So there is so much positivity, so much euphoria. I mean, everyone is saying inventory. So today, not for sale of Noida inventory, you don't need proposed things.
And to answer your first part, as you rightly highlighted that there is lack of social infra, especially the health side, and as we rightly highlighted that we are going to have a land area equivalent to that of Delhi. So with that regards, I think a lot is already happening. So there are a lot of hospitals. Vedanta, you're discussing of probably they have signed. And
Construction started.
so Delhi was signed recently. So that GK one that signed in Delhi, that is also close by. In addition to that, in YEDA sectors, in the new Noida sector, there will be emphasis on the healthcare sector as well. And we are also contemplating an entire Medicity, which is based for medical tourism concepts, which will be integrated with everything. As of now, don't pitch it anywhere. It's just the internal discussion that we're having. So we have all the options open. We have about 200 acres of real estate to be developed as part of airport real estate development. So all those options are open. We are cognizant of the fact that where the gaps are. So we cannot develop them all over there because that's a greenfield now. We cannot develop an office because the offices are lying vacant here. That will only be based on demand. But these things are things which will, these are structures of regional importance. So, we want to do things which will draw people even from 1,000 kilometers. So, probably, do something like India's largest medical tourism hub. So these things are being seen by different developers, authorities, and everyone. So these things will be addressed in due course.
If there are no questions, we can conclude.
It's Friday. So.
We should. Nitin, I just want to add two things while concluding it. One, it's a great session. I mean, you organized. Kudos to you and your team. What I would suggest is this has been a general discussion. You can organize more follow-up sessions with respective asset classes, say residential or commercial or airport. Second, being from RICS and many IPC people are there, why don't you come up with a Noida research report, something like that? Because otherwise, routine quarterly or half-yearly reports, NCR or Noida gets 1 or 2 pages, which just,
Major transactions.
the thrust doesn't come out, the reality doesn't come out. So I'm happy to, spearhead or connect or coordinate on that behalf, but we are sitting at that, time period of Noida growth story. It's high time we need to come out with a great in-depth research report on Noida, and being a, RICS as an institution or research body, I can talk to Ashish also. We should come out with a research report. Should come out.